Hi everyone, I hope this finds you well and that you had a great Thanksgiving. Today I was going to follow up on the challenge of writing a tune on one string, but I won't start with that. I thought today it might be nice to give you another idea of what you might like to write a tune about, or just thoughts, much like that idea of doing something on one string. Here is one that I did not so long ago, and this was making a reel, and this reel was with the tin whistle or the flute in mind. Often I'll do a lot of playing on the G string, and then it means that the flute players and the whistle players have to do a lot of jumping around. And I really thought that I needed to write a tune that was keeping them a bit more in mind and making a D my lowest note. Now, it doesn't mean that I couldn't go on a variation and dip down, because I have this instrument and I could go down to notes on the G string. But the tune was really made to be flute friendly, and it's actually called the Flute-Friendly Reel. So I'm going to play it for you first. There we go. So nothing below the D string there. And then otherwise, you might notice that there just is not just a second part. It's almost like there's a version of the second part the second time. I almost think of this, maybe not quite, but I think I'm thinking of it as two A's, a B, and a C. Two A's, one B, and a C. Hopefully I said that right the first time. So it's enjoyable to just kind of have landed in there. Of course, the key of the tune is D. And so, yeah, I'm going to teach it to you. And I won't go too slow, since I know we're mostly talking about just melody here. And so let's see what's in the tune, but maybe I can talk some little fiddly bits as I go along. So I'm going to play a phrase, and of course you can back up these tapes a little bit, and if there's anything you're missing, and I will play it all at the end again. But we're starting here, and here we go. So that's that's a measure of the tune. So we're starting with the D. Right, and if I play that again. And you can play that. And then it goes into the next measure, which is this. And I'm going to stop there because I think of the next two notes as going into the next measure. So I'm thinking Just that much for now. So from the beginning, the first two measures are and again, you can play with me. There. And then, yeah, there's two little pickup notes. So there's an F sharp to an E. And then the next measure is, and that again is, and I'm going to finish that thought and go into the next measure. So if you start on the D and you just play D, E, B, A, D. So I'm using a grace note between those two notes that are the same. Dum, dum, da, da, dum, da. And I'm using the grace note like this. And so since I'm using that grace note for a very specific purpose there, and that purpose is, for me, it's like I don't need to use two bows there. And plus I like the sound of that. So yeah, I'm holding onto the bow, down, down. Then. So the first part of this then is the next, you're in the middle of the first part, and if you continue on, there's a bit that's the same. So the beginning of the from the middle is the same as the start, which is. So you can play that. And then there's a slightly different move right here. So we use the same pickup notes. So with those pickup notes, the F sharp to E, and then I'm just doing this little run, first to third, open to first, third to first, open E to first. So the run is and then so hopefully that makes sense. Now I'm going to play the whole first part, and here you go. The second part goes like this. And again, there'll be no repeat there, so I'm just going to play that slowly, but I don't think there's any too tricky of notes there. There's a few triplets at the beginning. And I'm just going. So I'm going. And then when I continue, I just really like doing that with the fingers there, but it could have been. So it's. The tune is almost divided into 4 parts. So here's the next part. So it's using a few notes from the first part there. And then the last bit is. And then there is what like I said at the beginning, is either a third part or just some continuation of the second part, or even just a kind of a version of the second part. Mostly, I guess it is really a third part. I'm clearing my head as I speak to you. So the last part of this puzzle is. So that again is. I'll repeat that. And the next part is. So it's. And then it kind of goes back to the beginning of that part again, and it goes. Then it stays. And that's a dotted quarter note there. And then there's an ending, and it goes. So you'll notice that in the ending of the first part, I was kind of going. And now I'm changing it. And what an enjoyable thing that is, to just change that one note that kind of makes it the final answer to everything that's happened before. Yeah, so I think if you play through it, you'll hear all of those little ideas as it's going along. And again, it's the flute-friendly reel, and so it's meant to be kind of nice and friendly to the flute players. So I want to play it once more, and I'm going to play it slowly, and this time I'll keep going. And I'll try to bring my fiddle up to the screen a bit there, because there's lots of little fingering things that can happen. And so from the beginning, just to show you what I'm doing as I'm playing it, I'm going. So a little slide there with my finger. little grace note from my second to the first finger. So I'm going all on one bow, just gracing the string there. Another little slide happened there. So I'm kind of going. So instead of going, I filled that space. And then the ending. And what happened there is something that I often do when I'm playing. And it's almost like I'm doing a little triplet. And instead of an open A with a grace note at the end, like an A, keep the bow going down now in a grace note, that I'm almost going instead using that, but using a third finger for the middle note. But instead of playing the third finger sound underneath there, I'm just crunching my bow. So I'm going. So in context, let me go back a little bit. Now I did both of them there. So it's the same thing with this one. Instead of going, I changed it to a triplet. And then I put a fourth finger instead of just having three of the third finger. And I went. Does that make sense? And I'll intersperse that little move throughout the tune. So it gets this nice little scrunch sound. I think of it as something I always heard Tommy Peoples doing, but also Sean Keane, and I guess every fiddle player now. But maybe those were my earliest influences of that kind of scrunchy kind of a sound. And this is just my attempt to do what I'm hearing them doing. So I'm just telling you what I do. Not quite sure what they ever did, except that, I'm just fighting through to make that kind of scrunchy kind of sound. But let me continue then. So here's the second part. Yeah, and I think everything was pretty much mirrored there. Everything that I said for the first part can kind of go in there. So now, there you go. There's a tune for you. And once again, if anybody would like to send their tunes, I think this site is turning out to be a nice place for us to share. And so now I'm going to think about how the jig that I wrote to go for our challenge went back in 1 second. So the challenge was to play a tune given these notes. Basically, I said the D string, which between D and A. And of course, you know, there's all the... I think I told everybody to stop at A rather than going to an A sharp. And I wrote one tune on the string, and it was kind of a waltz. Maybe I'll share it at some point. But I got to the end of it and I thought, okay, it's on one string, but is it likable on one string? So I went kind of back to the beginning and decided to try one more tune on the D string. And I think this is more likable. And yeah, so it was just kind of I think what's nice about doing this is that you don't have a whole ton of range. So you get to kind of concentrate on one spot. And I even liked throwing out the challenge of starting the tune with a D and E. I imagine some people will have made that an introduction, or it'll be part of the tune. And I'm sure that many different types of tunes were done. This is my jig, and I'll leave you with this today. And here you go. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying I'm suffering along with you. Writing a new tune on one string. And let me just say my fourth finger is not behaving too well, so I am going to play an open A, I think, as I go along, but the tune, in fact, can all be done on the one string. And here you go. And there you go. Have a great week. And again, I hope you had a really nice Thanksgiving. I was a little slow myself getting something up last Friday, and I have no good excuse. I was full of turkey and capable of nothing. So it's Monday, getting back in shape, and glad to be back on here. And tell me how you like this. Okay, thanks. Bye.